So let's start with the question I know some of you are asking. Why now? Why come back after 5 years? So back in 2019, I launched my first podcast and it was called Lifestyle with Sandy Coffee. It ran for about 45 episodes, and at the time it felt right. It was fun, it was light, and it was about living well and looking good and all of the surface level things that come with lifestyle content. And there's nothing wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. It served its purpose. But as I evolved and as I grew and as I moved through different seasons of my life, I began to realize that the podcast didn't really reflect who I was becoming. And I felt like the chapter I had completely outgrown. But as I evolved and as I grew, as I moved through different seasons of my life, I realized that that podcast didn't really reflect who I was becoming. It honestly felt like a chapter that I'd outgrown. And so I archived most of those episodes, not because I was ashamed of them, but because they honestly no longer aligned with where I was going. What I'm building now isn't just lifestyle content, I would say. It's legacy building, is what I like to look at it as. I'm not here to tell you what to wear or where to vacation, although those things may occasionally come up because, I love a good, nice fit and some luxury travel. That's not going anywhere. But I'm here to talk about transformation, about the messy and beautiful and terrifying process of becoming the person you're meant to be. Not the person society is telling you to be, and not the person your family expects from you, the person who you are meant to become. That's what this podcast is about. That's what my work has always been about, even when I didn't have the language, I think, for it yet. So I needed a name change that reflected that evolution. And Lifestyle with Sandy Coffee felt cute, it felt branded, but it also felt limiting in a bit. It felt like it was all about me, my life, my style, and my choices. And while this podcast is deeply personal and rooted in my journey, I didn't want it to be self-centered. I wanted it to be more inclusive, and I wanted it to be a space where we could all show up, share our stories, and grow together. And that's honestly why I chose the new name, The Power of Becoming. Because here's the thing, the old name made it feel like you were just listening to my life, like you were a spectator. And I didn't want that anymore. I didn't want spectators. I wanted participants. I wanted you to see yourself in these conversations. I wanted you to feel like we were in this journey together. Now, I didn't want to negate my own journey, so to speak, because my story matters as well. And I'll be sharing it, of course, but I also didn't want this to be just about me. I wanted it to be about all of us, the women who are tired of waiting for permission, the women who are ready to shed old identities and step into something much bigger, the women who know that becoming isn't, I guess, a destination, it's an entire process. And that's the key word, becoming. Becoming isn't about an arrival. I feel it's not about finally making it, so to speak, or crossing some finish line where you get to say, okay, I'm done. I become who I'm supposed to be, and that's it. No, I feel becoming, the word itself, is about expansion. It's about constantly evolving, constantly growing, constantly shedding the parts of yourself that no longer serve you and that you can make room for what's next. It's not about becoming a fixed version of yourself. It's about becoming more of yourself, more honest, more aligned, more free. And that's a lifelong process. There is absolutely no finish line to that. There's just the next version of you and the next and the next. So now let me take you back to where this relaunch began. It was my birthday this year in May. And unlike most people who do their year in review on January 1st, I always do mine on my birthday. My birthday is when I reflect, I reset, and plan for the year ahead. And on that day, I knew it. I knew I wanted to bring the podcast back. I knew I wanted to step back into my voice, my platform, my work. I literally felt it in my soul. I don't know if some of you can relate to that. But here's where it got hard. I made a promise to myself at the end of 2023 when my family started our relocation process. I promised myself that I would take the entire upcoming year off. That meant no projects, no launches, no major brand collaborations. I just wanted to just rest and be present to get my family settled. My son was starting a new chapter in Europe, and my husband and I were building our new life here in Doha. And I knew that if I didn't give myself that time, if I didn't honor that promise, I would burn out. I knew it. I would resent my family probably, and I know I would have resented myself. So I waited. And if I can be honest, as a creative and a serial entrepreneur, it was so painful. Every single day, I fought the urge to start something, like literally everything. I had ideas, I had plans, I had so much that I wanted to say, but I knew I wasn't ready, not yet. And so I honored the promise. I chose my family first, I chose rest, and I chose to build my foundation here in Doha. So why now? Why December 27th? Honestly, because I'm ready, not in a forced way, but in a very deep, settled way where you know you've given yourself what you needed. I'm not launching from a place of depletion. That was something that I would have done in the past. I'm not launching because I feel like I should. I'm launching because I'm full, because I'm grounded, because I've done the work and now I'm ready to share it. And that's the difference. When you launch from fullness instead of emptiness, everything changes. The energy is different, the intention is different, the impact is definitely different. Which actually brings me to this season. Season 1 is called New Beginnings, and I chose that title very intentionally because whether it's December 27th or June 15th, I don't know, when you're hearing this, there's no wrong time to become. The only requirement, you have to be willing to shed who you were to make room for who you're becoming. New beginnings aren't reserved for January 1st. They're not reserved for Mondays or your birthday or even after some major life events. New beginnings happen the moment you decide they do. And that's what this season is about. It's about giving yourself permission to start again, to try again, to become again, really. So, what can you expect from this podcast? You can expect intimacy, lots of honesty, and transformation. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm not going to give you the fluffy motivational quotes, although we love those. Don't get me wrong. Also, this time around, most episodes will be solo, just you and I talking through the things that are on my mind. And I'll sprinkle in other episodes with featured guests, women who are doing incredible things, who have stories that need to be told. But no matter the format, the core will always be the same: real conversations about real transformation. That is really important to me. And here's what I need you to understand. We're not just consuming content here. That's not what I want to happen anyway. We're building something together. I don't want you to just listen passively. I want you to engage. I want you to reflect. I want you to take what we talk about and apply it to your own life, just like I will also be applying it to mine. This isn't a one-way conversation. I want a community, a sisterhood, a space where we can all show up, be honest, and grow together. Before we wrap, I have to tell you about my Substack because that's honestly where the magic really happens. If you're watching this and you're thinking, I want more of this energy in my life, then my Substack is where I show up even more unfiltered, unedited, and completely raw than this podcast is going to be. So here's what you get when you subscribe to my Substack. Every podcast episodes drop there first, as well as all my exclusive updates and my announcements. I also go live pretty regularly to discuss what's on my mind, my unfiltered insights on everything from what I'm obsessing with in the luxury space to my real thoughts on life, culture, and my journey. All the things that don't make it to this polished video and definitely not onto my other social media platforms, that's for sure. Now, if you want to go even deeper, that's where upgrading comes in. This podcast launch was actually announced to my upgraded subscribers at the beginning of last month. They knew way before anyone else. I also shared the deeply personal essay about why I took this entire year off. I went into detail about the lessons I learned in the silence and how that intentional pause led to us in this exact moment. That post alone is honestly worth the subscription. Plus, and this is actually my favorite part, my upgraded subscribers get access to Sandy's sister chat. It's a private community chat where you can talk directly to me, ask me questions, share what's on your mind, get my real-time thoughts, as random as they are. It feels like we're actually like sitting across from each other, having the conversations that matter, just us, honest and intimate. That kind of access you definitely won't get anywhere else. So if you're ready to be a part of my unapologetic inner circle, subscribe to my Substack through the link in my show notes. Now, here's my question to you. Who are you becoming? Not who you want to be, because there's a huge difference, but who are you becoming right now in this moment? I want you to really think about that. If you're ready to keep going, if you want to take this journey with me, make sure you're subscribed. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if this episode resonated with you, I would be so grateful if you leave a comment and a 5-star review. Doing so helps other women who need this message find us, and it lets me know what's landing with you. Your words matter, and they help shape this community we're building together. So if you prefer video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, I'll always leave links to everything seen or mentioned in the podcast, such as products, resources, of course, my social media platforms. They will all be in the show notes for you. So to those of you returning, I've missed you tremendously, trust me, and welcome back. And to my new listeners, welcome to the Power of Becoming with Sandy Coffee. I'm so glad you're here.